Hello and welcome to the Restricted Area Podcast, where we break down the week in NBA and WNBA action. As a reminder, you can hear this podcast the day before it can be seen on YouTube by checking out Spotify, Amazon, and Apple Podcasts. I am your host, Alex Perez, joined by producer Colton Smith, and fresh off the world tour, hardly home but always repping. It's the co-host Logan Hatfield. How we doing, fellas?
Logan, I'll let you go first since it's been a while.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm doing great. Doing great. Since you last saw me, I've probably been to, I think, 6 different states and another country. So I've been all over the place and seen a lot of cool stuff. But happy to be back here in Memphis. Got a couple weeks left here before I move back to good old Northern Kentucky to start the next phase of life. So what that is, I don't really know yet, but we'll find out.
Colton?
Yeah, it's been fun following your Snapchat stories, seeing where you're at each and every day. Seemed like a new place every day to me, but
Pretty much.
glad to have you back on the pod, and I'm excited to talk some hoops.
All right.
Yeah, for sure. Always good to have the big three back together. Uh, but yeah, nothing's changed in my life. Definitely nothing exciting as Logan's been going through. So we'll just get right into the conversations. Another exciting week in pro hoops. What stood out to you, Logan? I'll go to you first. I got to remember. I got to direct this thing again.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. The first series I want to talk about, coincidentally, it's not OKC. Trust me, I will get to that. But I want to talk about what's going on with Orlando and Detroit right now.
Hmm.
I don't know if I saw this coming out of the Magic, just simply based on how bad they played for like the last 2 months of the season. And Paolo Banchero just wasn't playing all that great. And he's still not shooting the ball great. He's putting up really good numbers, but like numbers that you get when you take about 30 shots a game. But it's working. It's working because the Pistons can't seem to hit a shot to save their life. So, but it's been one of the most interesting series to watch for me, just simply because of how hot the Pistons came in and how much they overperformed this year. And I think that overperforming is starting to show now in the playoffs environment because a lot of these guys on the Pistons haven't really seen this yet. At least some of the players on the Magic have been to the playoffs and they have a little bit of playoff experience. And I think that's starting to show. I used to discount that, and I used to never really think that mattered until I really started watching the playoffs a little closer. You can tell who's been there and who hasn't. And right now, the Magic are playing like a team that's more desperate, more hungry, and has that experience and wants to win more than the Pistons do right now. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about that, though, because it looks like we could have a really, really good series on our hand here in the first round.
Colton?
I can remember a little nugget that I mentioned back in the preview of the playoffs, and it was the Magic gave the Celtics a pretty tough out as the 8th seed last year, and I expected them to give the Pistons a tough out. Did I expect it to look this? I wouldn't say lopsided, but did I expect them to look this good this early in the series? Not really, but at the end of the day, the Magic are a team that aren't used to hitting shots, and they're really falling. And like you said, the Pistons have had a lot of good fortune and luck throughout the season with their shots falling, and they've gotten to the playoffs, and that well has gone dry. Paolo Banchero and Desmond Bane both combined for 50 points last game, and that's the key. The reason they lost game 2 is largely because they went away from the team basketball that won them game 1, and they got back to that in game 3. The beginning of game 2 was actually really great from both sides. It was beautifully ugly, I guess it would be the way to put it. I think it was like 40 something each at halftime. It felt
2000s
like
basketball.
yeah, some great 2000s basketball, very entertaining. But then it's like the Magic just came out and were in that kind of mode they had been playing in those last 2 months, like Logan mentioned. So I would say I'm not like shocked. I felt like this Orlando Magic team was far better than an 8 seed, but I am shocked that the Pistons are playing this poorly because they gave the Knicks a good fight last year, and I kind of expected them to have that experience to take that next step, but it looks like the Magic just kind of have the best of them right now.
Yeah, Colton, me and you kind of talked about it last week. I am surprised that the Magic went back to what works, because usually they have these games where they're like, oh, they show great flashes and they can be really great, and we know they can, and then they go back to Paolo Banchero's LeBron James, and that's just not the game that they should be playing, but they play it way too often. I'm glad they didn't in game 1 and 3. But to speak to the point that the Pistons may be in a little over their heads, I saw a stat the other day where the Pistons didn't lead at all in game 1, and that's the first time in a game one in a playoff opener for a one seed that they didn't lead in all of the first game. So it's only happened 4 times, otherwise, regardless of the game. But that's tough. The lights may be a little too bright for the Pistons, but defense wins in the playoffs, and Orlando has a good defense. And I don't think Detroit was ready for it, as you all said.
Yeah, and to the point you both made about defense and some throwback playoff hoops right now, I don't know how much you guys tuned into the game yesterday between Cleveland and Toronto.
Yeah.
If you like watching bricks, that was the game for you. I mean, they were just throwing it at the rim as hard as they could. That one was crazy. And it's I think it's been a pretty consistent theme amongst a lot of these playoff games is a lot of lower scoring affairs, probably than a typical regular season game this year. And that playoff intensity is heating up on defense. Speaking more on intensity, there was someone who likes to act intense and act tough. His name's Dylan Brooks. He's been playing okay. But the MVP is going in there and doing his thing, setting a new playoff career high, shooting 83% from the field. After a lot of critics, and he did not play the greatest in game one. I will admit he had an off night, but if your off night scoring 20 plus, then I think you're doing something right. And then he came out, silenced all of the critics, shot 83% from the field, and dropped 42 points, setting his new playoff career high. And Dylan Brooks says he wants him the whole game next game. So I hope Dylan is ready for that assignment tonight, which I will be watching very, very closely. Don't you guys worry. And yeah, I'm hoping SGA can do his thing as he typically does in closeout games, and I'm looking forward to it. But do you guys think the Suns have a chance tonight, or is this it for Dylan Brooks and the boys?
Cool.
I'd say it's it for Dylan Brooks and the boys. And if they somehow like pull out that like random playoff magic where a team just gets to win at home just to stretch it to 5, like sure, but yeah, it's wraps.
Yeah, talk about somebody that's in over their head. Kind of always. Dylan Brooks, that's him. I've said enough slander about Dylan Brooks in the past, so I will digress. But yeah, I don't. This game should be on 2K TV. I don't see this series going much longer at all.
It's on Prime.
Rachel Demita as the commentator. I wouldn't hate that.
I'm skipping David Aldridge immediately.
Immediately, yeah. Every time. Colton, what you got?
I'm messing with the sliders. Just kind of looking at some of these other matchups. The Celtics and 76ers kind of had what felt like the back-breaking blow last night. The Celtics won 128-96 with Peyton Pritchard dropping a cool 32 piece. 6 of those coming from beyond the arc. Jaylen Brown 20, Jason Tatum 30. Just kind of how I expected the series to go. I did have that like outside thought of, hey, if Joel Embiid comes back. Joel Embiid did come back. He did drop 26 points. It wasn't quite enough for the Sixers to get it done. Tyrese Maxey did his thing with 22, but I just think the Celtics are a better team that's played together pretty much for the entire season, except for Jason Tatum. So I just think they have that overall camaraderie, and we know it's the Sixers, just the playoffs. In my lifetime, I haven't seen them do much, so not much really on that series. But this Cavs and Raptors series is heating up, ladies and gentlemen. You mentioned Brickfest last time, but the Raptors, after being down 2-0, have clawed their way back up to a 2-2 series, and now, and now they go back to Cleveland, having to try and take home advantage. And what's the saying we always hear? It's the series doesn't start until an away team wins. That still has yet to happen in this series. So 2-2. Can the Raptors steal a game? They look like a completely different team in Toronto than they did the first 2 games, especially game 1. Got to remember his name. Jamison Battle, legacy game in game 3. That dude could have shot it from the opposite end of the court and it would have gone in. He probably could have shot his shot with Sabrina Carpenter and it would have went in. Like he was on one that night, but not quite so much in game 4. Regardless, though, Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram doing their thing. I mentioned Brandon Ingram was looking really ugly in game 1. He's kind of turned it around a bit. I would be remiss not to mention Colin Murray Boyles, the rookie, playing very much not like a rookie in the playoffs, both offensively and defensively. Locking up D Mitch a little bit as much as you can lock up D Mitch. Let me be clear on that, and getting buckets on the other end. The way the Raptors score is very very interesting. But what are you guys' thoughts on this series? Because I think outside, of course, the obvious ones, this one is one that I kind of wrote off and thought the Cavs would do it, but the Raptors, with little playoff experience, are finding a way to stay in it.
Logan.
Yeah, I mean, this has been one that, like I said, that game yesterday was a bit of a hard watch at the start, but it honestly just continued to keep getting better. And that's how I feel like this series is evolving. It's continuing to keep getting better. And I'm just really, really excited for Game 5. I feel like whoever takes the momentum in Game 5 will probably go ahead and take Game 6 as well. I don't know if I see this one going 7. And if the Cavs can seize that home court momentum just one more time, I think they can go into Toronto and get it done. I mean, they have quite possibly the all-time playoff riser in Donovan Mitchell. He has, I believe it was the second highest points per game in the playoffs ever, which is crazy. But I personally, I'm going to go ahead and make my claim that the Cavs will take it and take the next 2. I just think some of that inexperience in some of those younger players in Toronto is going to start to catch up to them here in Game 5 and beyond.
Yeah, I would also agree with that sentiment. I think the Cavs win the next 2, but the Cavs being up and down, who could have seen that coming? Big fan of watching Donovan Mitchell in the playoffs, but the rest of that team, they probably have to have some serious conversations because the next round may get a little ugly if they're struggling with an inexperienced Raptors team like they are in this round.
And to wrap up the East, the Knicks and the Hawks have also been a really good series. The Knicks pretty handedly took Game 4, but the Game 2 and Game 3 have been absolute cinema. CJ McCollum becoming a villain in New York and backing it up back home in Atlanta. So tied 2-2, headed back to New York. But the Hawks have really shown no issues with facing New York in the Garden. So it really is anybody's game coming up. I believe that game will come tomorrow. Maybe it's tonight. But I don't really have too much other than OG Anunoby is a very underrated playoff performer. It's something I kind of noticed in the Pacers series a bit. I feel like he damn near won them the Game 3 and was the leading scorer in Game 4. I think that's something that needs to be talked about. And Jalen Brunson kind of contributed to that loss in Game 3. Only had 19 in their win on Game 4, but a win is a win. Kind of waiting for him to have. I'm not trying to try to start the narrative or anything, but just not the Jalen Brunson I expect to see in a playoff series such as this. But shout out the Hawks for making this thing interesting as I expected them to, and had the lead 2-1 at one point. So I'm curious your guys' thoughts on this one, though.
Logan?
Yeah, so I really like your point about Jalen Brunson kind of contributing to that loss. I feel like I'm watching almost like the anti-Jalen Brunson. They're giving him the ball in the clutch, and he's making every mistake. He's doing the things he would never do in the past. And we're typically used to seeing Jalen Brunson get the ball with less than 30 seconds left, hit that elbow, and make the jumper every single time. He's not doing that. I think he's overthinking right now. I think he's doing a little bit too much. He just needs to get back to that smooth brand of basketball he was playing and play a little freer than he has been. But I'm loving to watch CJ McCollum. I think I watched Colton talk in the Discord about CJ McCollum 38 times these last couple of weeks, and for good reason. I should have seen it coming more. I should have been more prepared. CJ McCollum has been taking over this series, and it's something I love to see. Ever since he got that win when he was playing for Lehigh against Duke, I've loved watching him, grow up in Portland and then take on different veteran roles with different teams, and now he's doing it in Atlanta, and he's contributing to winning at a very high level right now. And this is the CJ McCollum I feel like we always could have seen, but he was never on a good enough team to go this far. So I'm really, really excited that we get to see this now.
Yeah, we kind of talked about it. I think the biggest difference is the guard play, and you have a lot of options to throw at Jalen Brunson, the Hawks do. And obviously, the Knicks do not have a lot of options to throw at CJ McCollum, who is looking at McBride and Jalen Brunson like barbecue chicken. The first 3 games, 26, 32, 23, and then 17 in Game 4. So a little off, but at 35 years old, you're getting way more than you could have ever expected out of McCollum in this series. And one thing that also stood out to me, Mikal Bridges been terrible. Game 4, he had 8 points. Game 3, he had 0 in 21 minutes. Um, just a reminder, they traded 6 first-round picks, a second-round pick, and Bogdanovich for 0 points in 21 minutes in a playoff game. That's a conversation that needs to be had because that is ugly, and the Knicks need better if they want to be any type of actual competitive, at least for a championship.
Not to mention the contract situation, not only the Mikal Bridges extension, but the Jalen Brunson contract structure. I've said it before, and that's why I have been so high on this Knicks team, is because they got to do it this year. Like the salary cap is not going to be in their favor, and it's going to look really ugly here in a year or two. So I would take advantage while you got the team in place, because who knows what's going to end up happening with Jalen's contract being so back heavy. And the one thing I noticed about Bridges is he's also been getting less minutes too. I think that's more as a coach's decision, obviously, but probably likely because of the way he's been playing. You can't put him out there if he's putting up stinkers, putting up Tony Snell numbers. So I want to shift the conversation to quite a controversial series at the moment, but a legendary game, last game. The Timberwolves are up 3-1 on the Nuggets, folks. Unfortunately, that is without Ant for a few weeks and without Dante DiVincenzo, both going down with some scary injuries. Thankfully, Ant's wasn't as serious as it looked on TV, but it is still serious and will be out for, like I said, a couple weeks, I think was the official word. But DiVincenzo is out for the playoffs. I think they confirmed that was an Achilles. I think it was. It looked like
they confirmed it during the game. Yeah,
that's what I thought. So, I want to hear your guys' thoughts. I will say I missed this game, but I would be remiss not to mention Ayo Dosunmu with his 43 points. You know, streets are saying he might have saved basketball, kind of like an Aaron Wiggins, but still a beautiful, beautiful matchup. And what you talk about. All the moves that were made to get Mikal Bridges into New York. Think about what little the Timberwolves had to do to get Ayo Dosunmu to drop 43. Like, was it even a trade? I think it might have just been a signing. If it was a trade, it was a very minuscule trade. So, shout out Ayo.
Logan.
Yeah, Ayo Dosunmu Ethical Hoops are officially here in the playoffs. And that's something that, wow, I just wasn't expecting at all. But you got 2 huge players going down with injuries for Minnesota, which the only thing that really scares me about this is if Minnesota can get this done, I mean, does that kind of ends there, regardless of who they play. If Portland's able to mount a comeback or if San Antonio gets the job done, I feel like it doesn't matter. I feel like Minnesota is probably hit the end of the road. I don't think they can get much farther without the scoring of Anthony Edwards and Dante DiVincenzo. I think that's something they're going to be sorely missing. And as cool as it was to see Ayo do that, I just don't know how sustainable that game plan can be if he's going to be the main source of offense.
We're about to find out. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, that next game is tonight, and I will definitely have my eyes on that because it could be a blowout, could also be very interesting. But yeah, this has just been a very compelling series. Timberwolves have kind of dominated it, honestly. They did even have a double-digit lead in that one loss that they had, but very interesting series. Is there a funnier team than the Timberwolves? First, you got Anthony Edwards. You know, he's always a good soundbite. Then you got Jaden McDaniels after, game 3, saying, all these Denver defenders suck. They're garbage. Called him out by name and then backed it up with 20 and 10 in the following game. Like, obviously, Minnesota does not fear Denver whatsoever. Regardless to say, I think you may even be able to say they don't respect them at all because in game 4, it got ugly. Like, that is a game Denver has to win. And they did not, even with DiVincenzo and Edwards out. Just to add to the disrespect, Gobert shot a 3 in the fourth quarter of that game. I think really that's all you need to say about how much they do not care about what people think about Denver and what kind of shot they had in this series. They're ready to win. again, it's not going to go very far once they finish out the series. But Jokic tried to fight McDaniels at the end of Game 4, and McDaniels was smiling in his face. So that was interesting to see. But do you all think Denver has any type of shot with these two out, or do you think it's pretty much wraps?
I really don't think they have a shot. I think they can pick up a game or two, but I think this is too much to come back from now. I just think it's at the point where, like, the morale is at an all-time low in Denver right now. Like, Jokic is just straight trying to fight dudes, and which, by the way, that was crazy. And I thought Julius Randle was actually gonna do something wild there. He looked like he was ready to get into some action, and I don't think Nikola Jokic expected that. Getting into all that, but you can tell just by the way that the Nuggets players are acting that morale's at an all-time low in Denver, and I just don't think that they're going to be able to overcome this deficit.
I agree. I think when you have Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, and that core intact, there is always an outside chance with the talent that they have, but the morale is the kicker here. That's what's got them where they're at right now, and it happened all so fast. I mean, we were talking about this team as really the sleeper outside chance because of how well they finished off the season, and the Timberwolves, you said it, they don't respect them, and they've proven that there's really no reason to respect them. And Jaden McDaniels said it best: nobody on this team plays defense, dog. Like, what happened to Aaron Gordon being a hell of a defender and hustling, and like they're just none of the starters are putting in that effort, and the Timberwolves are exploiting that easily. You let Ayo DeSumo drop 43, an incredibly talented player. I'm not trying to discount that whatsoever, but still, like, I don't know. There's going to be some very interesting conversations to be had about the Nuggets. I think it starts with the head coach. We kind of just slapped on I almost said Jake Debo. That's Ohio State's head coach, who was an interim and became the head coach, but. Who is their current head coach? The name's not going to come to me. Nuggets
I
head.
don't have it either.
Nuggets head coach.
I can't pronounce it, but I promise you.
Okay. Okay. We know that there is a head coaching the Nuggets right now. He originally came on as an interim from Mike Malone. I think that was last season or maybe the season before last. And he.
My bad. I was thinking of the Grizzlies head coach. It's David Adelman. I don't know.
Oh, David Adelman. Yeah. David Adelman comes in and puts together a better than you would expect showing from an interim head coach in his first season, but hasn't quite lived up to that since then. And I kind of question if maybe he was rushed into that role from a very hasty decision from management, because we are kind of seeing the cracks forming, especially in this series right here. So I think that's where the conversations will start. Jokic, we all know there's plenty of questions to be had about. I don't necessarily question it, but his desire to be in this sport long term. And is Jamal Murray cooked? Is Aaron Gordon cooked? Do we, maybe not that they're cooked, but do they need to be moved to try and bring in somebody else to switch it up? Is it time to switch up this core because they won a championship 3 years ago, and haven't been able to climb that mountain since. So I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on that conversation. And then Alex, I know you definitely have a series you want to talk about, so it's all yours.
I definitely do. What I will quickly say is a roster that's built like the Nuggets definitely has to be more competitive than they are right now. Jokic is allowing Gobert to look like Jokic, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
The defense has to get a lot better. The offense should be a lot better. It's basically the championship team that they had. So I don't understand what's going on. Maybe it is coaching. Maybe it's players regressing from the skill that they once had. But serious conversations need to be had. Logan, any final thoughts on that?
It just seems like they're kind of bowing down to the Timberwolves right now, and I don't really understand why. I don't think this is a matchup that they're outmatched in really any areas, but they seem to be playing like it. They're playing down to the Timberwolves level right now. And I'm not saying the Timberwolves are a bad team at all, but the Nuggets have consistently outclassed them this year. And just in terms of a lot of aspects of basketball, it just seems like they're kind of bowing down to them right now. And I just can't really for the life of me figure out why.
Completely agree. But yeah, there is one series that I did want to talk about. As everyone expected, the Los Angeles Lakers lead the Houston Rockets 3-1 after a stinker last night. We don't have to talk about that one. Let's go through the rest of the series, though. The fun parts: dominating performance in Game 1, led by 16 at a point. KD was out, so understandable. But Luke Kennard having 27, can't say many people expected that. Lakers legend. Game 2, more of the same, led by 15. KD had 23, so he was in. But Kennard and Smart combined for 48. Game 3 looked like the same. No KD, 15-point lead. But the Rockets retook the lead, led by 6 with 30 seconds left, and still lost. Sengun finally had a good game, though, 33 points and 16 rebounds. So shout out to him. But one of my concerns in this series, honestly, moving forward and for the Rockets altogether, is Sengun in these playoffs. He has shot 40% so far in these playoffs, and that's just not going to get it done. They expected him to be the big presence with KD out, and he just has not delivered. The huge concern, however, is the bench. If you take away Tari Eason, they had a total of 9 bench points through 3 games on 3 of 33 shooting. That's 9%. I hate to ask, but I want to pose this question to you all. Does KD now look at this team and say, man, I don't think I can be competitive here?
I mean, he says it every year. Why not say it this time? I mean, it's one of those that I think with or without KD, this team probably is in the pretty well same position.
I'd agree.
I think they showed throughout the year, especially against the Lakers, that this was kind of what they were going to do in the playoffs, and they have done nothing to really refute that. Is it one of those that maybe if they had another year under their belt, KD could figure it out? I don't know what goes on in that dude's head, so I couldn't really tell you. But at the end of the day, I could understand why he says that. There are some moves that maybe could be made to make this team fit KD a little bit better, but I'm not necessarily sure what those are yet without looking at the free agency and all of that good stuff. But yeah, Logan, I'm curious what your thoughts are on it, because I do kind of think this team has a cap on it unless they hit another level that I just don't see, and that would just not going to happen in one of the last few games of the season here. So you're muted, by the way.
Thank you for letting me know. I don't think Kevin Durant knows what's going on in his own head sometimes, but I do think he likes it in Houston. But I just think the main issue, and you're seeing it right now, is if Kevin Durant decides to leave town again, Alperen Sengun cannot be the number 1 option on a championship team.
Mm-hmm.
I question if he's the number 2 option.
I don't even. Yeah, exactly. The way he plays, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to watch, if I'm being honest. He was getting. There was complaints that he wasn't getting All-Star nods earlier this year, and I understand kind of some of that. He's a solid player, but I just don't think that he can contribute that much to winning basketball at this point. It's one of those things where I watched like Andre Drummond back in the day. His stats were crazy, but he didn't contribute to the game in any capacity. He was just another body out there running back and forth. That's kind of what I'm starting to see out of Alperen Sengun. And of all people on the team, why is he the one we're going to take the final shot in regulation? That just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know what you guys think, but I personally, I'm not hating on Alperen Sengun by any means. I don't know. Like watching him play kind of brings this like fear into me of like, where does Houston go from here?
Yeah, they call him Mini Jokic, and I guess defensively they have some points. But this Houston team is literally, it looks like they're praying to make threes. Like they're just chucking as many as they can. And obviously, as you've seen, not many of them are going in. So I'm very concerned with if they can put shooting pieces around KD, because they certainly do not have it now. But any final thoughts from you, Colton?
Yeah, I think Alperen Sengun, I think Andre Drummond is a very great comparison. Although I think you could tell Andre Drummond was not a first option. I think with Sengun, he plays very much like a first option, and there are good examples of him throughout at least the regular season, like where that works. But when it's time for the defense to lock in or any adjustments are made, he's screwed. I think that's the worst thing that ever happened to him was defenses just figured out how to work around him. And that's pretty well what's kind of left him in the dust. Because I don't know how he really fits on a team as a third or fourth option even because of his style of play kind of demands him to be a first option. So he's going to have to adjust his play style if he really wants to be in this league he's going to be in this league for a while longer, but for long term.
The last thing I wanted to hit on for the Rockets bench was Bronny James outscored the whole Rockets bench in Game 3. Pretty good for a 55th pick. Anyways, we'll go ahead and move on. It is now time for our power rankings, where this week we will list our top 3 playoff teams as of right now. Colton, who you got?
I'll go from top to bottom because I think everyone knows who's at the top. OKC Thunder, enough said. Just simply watch a game. You can understand why they're at number 1. Watch any game from beginning of the season back in October to this game, and you can understand why they really haven't fallen off since then. Number 2, I have the Celtics because I feel like they've taken pretty good care of business in the East. I think the best of really any team in the East right now, and they are my team that I picked to make the finals. So I got them there at number 2. And then I have the Spurs. Got a little scary there after Game 2. I will say I was a little alarmed. Wemby went down with that concussion, came back. Spurs are now up 3-1 in that series, seem to be taking care of business. I am very curious. Logan, you made that point earlier about experience and how important that is. If that comes into play at all in this alleged Timberwolves series that we'll be seeing, because Timberwolves certainly have a lot of experience playoff threats. The Spurs is their first go at it. But I think if there's a team, and I've said it before, that transcends it, it'll most certainly be the Spurs team. That's why I got them at number 3.
Logan?
Yeah, our power rankings are the exact same, Colton, actually. So I had OKC at number 1, just simply because of how they've looked in these first 3 games. They look like pretty much the same team that won the championship last year, and they are playing that way. Honestly, I think they look even better. They had some close calls in that first round with the Grizzlies last year, and they really haven't broken a sweat yet this season or this postseason. So I think that this team, dare I say, looks better than last year's first round team did. And then 2, I still have Boston. I think that they are looking scarily similar to that 2024 team, and they look really good. The one game they dropped against Philly, it's really whatever, but I don't really see them taking any losses in the East anymore. Series losses, that is. I personally had the Knicks making the Eastern Conference Finals, but I don't know anymore. It looks like Boston's going to come out of the East, and I think that's going to pose a really, really good finals matchup for whoever comes out of the West. Okay, see. But the Spurs at number 3, you can't discount what they've done and how they were able to claw back and perform without Wemby, even when Wemby, in that last game, a slight minutes restriction. Everything's looking good for the Spurs right now. And I agree with you, Colton. I think if a team can transcend that playoff experience barrier, it is the Spurs, because they have a good mixture of, some solid vets and as well as some super young starters that are doing their jobs right now.
Fair enough. My power rankings look a little different. The Thunder I do still have at number 1. They've made the Suns look like a G League team. But to be fair, Logan, that Grizzlies team I feel like is a lot better than the Suns team.
Yes, I will agree with that.
But number 2, I have the Lakers down the top 2 scorers and are still looking fantastic in all but one game. Kennard played great in Game 1. Marcus Smart, did not see this coming. He's been sensational in every single game, so shout out him. Braun still getting it done at 41, brings a tear to my eye. Number 3, I have the Magic, actually. Led Game 1 for all of it, and against the number 1 seed, who I think we were really high on, and then came back and responded to a resounding loss, I would say, and then took the lead against, again, that 1 seed. So I'm just been really impressed with them. Making this list, I was really concerned with Wemby's health after that concussion. Obviously, he came back just fine. So I totally understand putting the Spurs at 3 because they're going to be right there towards the end as well. But the Magic, I feel like, deserve that nod right now.
To your point on the Celtics, Logan, you talked about them and the Thunder being a great matchup. That was the matchup everyone was rooting for last year, right? And it ended up the Celtics looked like the biggest threat to the Thunder in the East, and I'd say that's probably the case again this year. It ended up being the Pacers, but they do look like they are a well-oiled machine and playing like we expected them to play in the last playoff. So. I'm very pumped if it's a Celtics Thunder finals. I think that you all have a very clear advantage in that finals, but in that paint area. But
I still think that's good hoops. That's great hoops.
I still think that's great
good
hoops.
hoops.
Yeah. I don't know if it's going to 7 like the Pacers, but we'll see.
I would say probably not. But yeah, now it is time for our shooting star where we pick our baller of the week. Logan, who do you have?
I gave you guys the sneak peek before with my new pair of Shea 001s. Shout out to my beautiful girlfriend, Sarah. I love you. They are awesome. New favorite shoe in my collection. But it's got to be SGA. It's got to be Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. The way he's performed, like I mentioned, putting up a 42-piece, setting a new career playoff high, shooting 83% from the field. And there was a lot of talk from especially Dylan Brooks, like I mentioned before, talking about how there's a lot of free throw merchants on the Thunder. The point of the matter is here, like I said, he shot 83% from the field. Stop fouling him in garbage time if you don't want to see him go to the line at this point, right? Foul someone else, force the ball into someone else's hands. I think a lot of defenders in the NBA complain about him because he's one of the hardest players to guard. And I think that that's an extremely fair assessment. He can get his shot anywhere, and even if there's a hand in his face, it's still going to go in. So with that, I'm going to give SGA. I know it's a little bit biased, but I'm going to give him the shooting star of the week. And it's looking to me like he's on his way to another MVP award, which is going to start to make people have some uncomfortable conversations here soon.
Colton?
Yeah, I think anybody that has followed this podcast and my tendencies with the baller of the week could guess who I'm going with this week. Ayo Dosunmu. I mean, 43 points, only 5 threes. He did make all 5 of the threes he attempted. Also went 12 for 12 from free throw line. Just a beautiful game, a huge game to keep the Timberwolves alive in that series, and not just alive, up 3-1. So got to give a shout out to Ayo. That's a Big Ten product right there. As much as I despise Illinois as a Purdue fan, I always did like seeing him play and seeing him succeed in the NBA as well. He's a fun player to watch, and hopefully he's able to keep going off throughout these playoffs.
Yeah, mine is not biased, and shame on you all for not having this as your shooting star. Mine is Marcus Smart. He has been sensational and unbelievable in these playoffs. He became the first player in Lakers franchise history, that storied franchise, to have 20 points and 5 steals in back-to-back playoff games. So no Reeves, no Luka, no problem. Let's not talk about Game 4. Been sensational. So shout out Marcus Smart, still getting it done even after the Celtics and the Wizards didn't want him for some reason. But that will do it for this episode of the Restricted Area Podcast. Thanks, Colton and Logan, for being on. Follow the show's YouTube at CX Restricted Area. You can follow the CX crew on all socials at CX Pod Network. Follow me on Twitter at The Wheel Deal, Colton at Colt_45. That's 3 T's, by the way. And Logan on all socials at LoganH_4. Yep, I got that right. Haven't done that in a while. But anyways, thank you all for listening and watching. And until next time, like the team chemistry when the big three's back together, be smooth.